Friends, today's date 18 September 2020. Subject Access Standard 50B Topic 17 The United Nations Page number 108 to 111. Friends, today I am going to teach you about the United Nations. Now, birth of the United Nations. How the United Nations occur? The earth is divided into a number of continents. Our earth is divided into number of continents like 7 continents and 5 oceans, which are further politically divided into many nations or countries. These all continents are divided into further nations and different kind of countries. The people of these nations speak different languages and follow different religion. In these all countries of the whole world, they speak different kind of languages and follow different kind of religions and their customs. Some of these countries are highly developed. Some of these countries are highly developed in the field of agriculture. So many nations are highly developed with agriculture, industries and education. The standard of living of the people in these nations is also very high. Yet there are many nations they are still underdeveloped, with the people living much below the many nations that are still underdeveloped, with the people living much below the poverty line. The United Nations is one of the organizations that has been formed safeguard and uplift such nations. Birth of the United Nations. How the United Nations occur, how it formed. The invention of discoveries of machines in the European nations led to industrial revolution. These machines couple produce goods faster, cheaper and on larger scale. For this, they required more raw materials. This kind of industries, this kind of developed industries need more raw materials. They also need market to sell their goods, and they also need different markets in different countries to sell their goods. Hence, European nations like England, France, Portugal, the Netherlands and France started exploring other countries to buy raw materials and to market their finished products. Then after, different kind of countries joined with this business. They sell their goods and they also purchased raw material from these markets. Hence, European nations. They went to countries in Africa, Asia, North and South America for trade and slowly established their colonies there. Gradually, they brought these countries under their control and become more powerful and economically developed. Economically, they developed due to this kind of expansion of this kind of businesses. At the same time, these European nations wanted to rule over the underdeveloped countries and begin fighting among themselves for supremacy. Due to supremacy, these all nations fighting with among them, in between they fight. I am the supreme. Another nation guess that I am the supreme. So that different kind of wars started. The First World War was fought from the 1914 to 1918. There was a great deal to suffering and loss of property and life. This gave rise to the need of world body, which would solve the problems peacefully and prevent another war. Hence, an organization called the League of Nations was formed by the world leaders in the year 1918. Maintain peace among the nations. However, it would not stop the upsurge of the Second World War and thus failed to achieve its aim. Due to this supremacy power, all nations wanted to become a supreme, so that every nation fought with one another, so that World War and Second World War was fought. The Second Global War started in the year 1939 and lasted for about 6 years. This dreadful war began in Europe and spread all over the world. It ended in 1945 when the United States of America dropped two atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan on 6th and 9th August respectively. The two major cities were almost destroyed, killing millions of people. Many people were also left homeless. The whole world was completely shaken by this disaster. At that time, Japan faced so many problems. Their child also born as a defective. Many countries decided that war should be avoided at any cost. American President Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Russian Prime Minister Stalin met in Tehran, the capital of Iran. They discussed the need of an international body to settle the disputes among nations and work for peace. They all together and decided to stop this world war. Whole countries were fought against among one and another. Among nations and work for peace, justice and progress in the world. They decided to form a stronger international organization called the United Nations Organizations UNO. The United Nations Organization was officially declared on 24th October 1945 in San Francisco, USA, when 50 countries signed its charter. At that time, when UN formed, at that time 50 countries signed to be a member of this nation. This day is declared as the United Nations Day every year. However, since 1950, United Nations Organization has come to be known as the United Nations. Now friends, our continued topic is objectives of the United Nations. When these all persons make to one another, at that time they decided to stop the world war. They wanted to a world peace, so that they make objectives of the United Nations. The countries which are the member of the UN, they follow these all kind of rules and regulations to maintain peace and security among the member states and settle all disputes peacefully. At that time they decided to maintain peace and security to among all member states which are the member of the UN and settle all disputes peacefully. To develop friendly relation among member states with equal rights. All the nations which are the member of the UN, at that time they developed friendly relations among all the member states with equal rights. To cooperate with other nations in solving the economic, social, cultural and humanitarian problems. At that time, UN make a very good step, make a proper step to maintain peace and security in the world, so that to promote respect for the human rights and fundamental freedom without any distinction on the basis of race, color, sex, religion or language. Without any kind of different, they follow these all kind of rules and regulations. To provide a meeting place where all nations can work together to fulfill their aims and objectives. All the member nations must be followed to all these kind of rules and regulations with peace and peacefully and without any kind of disputes. To achieve the above objectives, the United Nations set the following principles. United Nations set the principles. To follow these all principles, all member states are sovereign and equal and must respect the rights of other nations. All member states should settle their disputes peacefully. They should refrain from any threat or use of force. They must support the organization in all its functions. Now, major organs of the United Nations at that time, United Nations make a major functions. It major functions. The headquarters of the United Nations are in New York. Are in New York in the United States of America. The UN has its own flag with the emblem in white against a world map enclosed by two green olive branches. The United Nations has five major organs. The United Nations has main five organs, five major organs or bodies that carry out its work with close cooperation with one another. Formerly, there was a sixth organ to namely the Trusteeship Council, which is not functional since 1994. Since 1994, they boycott these functions, six functions. Trusteeship Council. It is not related to UN. The function of the five organs of the UN are mentioned below. The major organs of the United Nations. First, General Assembly. First function of the United Nations is the General Assembly. It is the most important organ and the main body of the UN. General Assembly is the main body of the UN. It works like a world parliament. It works like every nation has the parliament. So our UN also has the parliament like General Assembly. It works like a parliament. Each member state has one representative in the General Assembly. They meet at least once a year. If any nation are the member of the UN, they have to join in General Assembly in a whole year, during the whole year. One time they meet to discuss to international problems and find solutions on how to settle them peacefully. They meet once in a year. The General Assembly choose one representative to be its president. They choose one representative as a president of the General Assembly. Now, the second function of the UN is Security Council. Security Council consists of 10 temporary and 5 permanent members. In Security Council, there are 10 permanently and 10 temporary and 5 permanent members. The USA, Russia, the main 5 permanent members are the Russia, France, USA, China and England are its permanent members. The primary duty of the Security Council is to maintain peace and security among various nations. Now next, third, Economic and Social Council. The Economic and Social Council has 18 members. Economic and Social Council has 18 members. The purpose of this council is to carry out the objective of the UN in the field of education, social upliftment, health culture, economic aid, etc. The various agencies of this council like the World Health Organization, WHO, World Health Organization, carry out its activities. Now next, fourth, International Court of Justice. In every country, every state, in every district has the court. Like that, in UN also International Court of Justice. This is the legal court and an important organ of the United Nations. It deals with the disputes between the member nations and settle them peacefully. According to the international law, it has 15 judges. It has 15 judges. In International Court of Justice, UN selected 15 judges in International Court of Justice. 15 judges elected from different countries. The Peace Place in the Hague, Netherlands is the headquarters of the International Court of Justice. Now next point is Secretariat. The Secretariat is the administrative organ of the United Nations which carries out the day-to-day work of the organization. The Secretary General is the head of the Secretariat. The Secretary General is the head of the Secretariat, who is appointed by the General Assembly for a term of 5 years. This Secretary General is appointed by 5 years. He is the most powerful official of the UN. Secretary General is the most powerful for the UN. There are many people appointed from many countries who work with him. Now last point is the membership of official languages. Membership of official languages, the membership of the UN is open to all peace-loving nations. If any peace-loving nations want to be a member of the UN, they may. There are 193 member states now in the UN. These nations can send their representatives to attend the meetings of the General Assembly at New York. In General Assembly, once time they meet together for peace in every country. In New York, they act as an ambassador of their country to the UN. It is the duty of the member countries to cooperate with the United Nations in achieving its goals, especially in maintaining peace and security among nations. The United Nations has declared 6 major languages as its official languages. The United Nations declared 6 major main languages, official languages. They are English, French, Russian, Spanish, Chinese and Arabic. A speech made in any of the official languages of the UN is immediately translated into other languages by the interpreters. If the meeting held at that time interpreted changes any language into the different kind of languages. If any country's person came into General Assembly meeting at that time translated into by the interpreters, this language translated into any language. Thank you.